just gonna send Sunflower to the graveyard. Then we can bring it back. And then with these two monsters, we're gonna make our Barkion. So now we have pretty much infinite spell card negates alongside with infinite trap negates. And our opponent concedes. So that's just the power of Naturia. What's up, my people? Welcome back. This time we have something a little new. We have Naturia with Vernusylph. And in our first match, we are going up against what most would say is the best way of playing Naturia, which is combined with Runick. Now, this game, we both did have sort of a slow start, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit because he's just going to end on Baguska and pass, and then same thing on my turn. I didn't really get to extend much because I do get interrupted. So I'm going to end up on a Baguska as well. But I tried to activate the Vernusylph engine, but he has his shufflers in the graveyard, so pretty much prevents me from doing any sort of combo. So the most that I can do is just have 2 level 4s on the field and make another Baguska myself to just stall. Since he has a Baguska, I won't be able to do much. So, and then with the Gravekeeper's trap on the field, I'm trying to bait out the Runick Fountain. So I keep declaring Runick Fountain every turn, just to make sure that if he draws into the Runick Fountain, he can discard it. As I don't want him to start, popping off with activating Runick cards and drawing cards and, the whole Runick engine, how it goes. Alright, so from here it starts to pick up a little more. So he's going to hit me with the shuffler one more time. So, these past couple of turns he's just been negating me, or rather preventing me from doing any plays by shuffling all of my cards from the graveyard back into my deck. But this time around I get 3 monsters on the field, so I can go into my Blackluster Soldier. I love this card, man. This is definitely one of my favorite OG cards in the game. So, and it's an Earth attribute monster, so that's why I use it in this deck, since all the monsters, the majority of the monsters are Earth based. So I kill his monster and then I activate Blackluster Soldier is one of his effects, which I can banish a card, so I banish the Gary. Alright, so now he draws into a Runick card, and now his Baguska has no material, so he has to pop itself. Then he's going to activate the Smiting Storm. I'm going to activate my Mole Cricket so that I can special summon my Camellia. And then using Camellia, I'm going to send the trap card to the graveyard. But before I do all of that, since my opponent activated an effect, I can bring back my Mole Cricket alongside with another Naturia. So we send the Sacred Tree to the graveyard. With the Sacred Tree, we search for our Blessing. We add it to our hand. And then our opponent is doing the same thing. He's going to send the Sacred Tree to the graveyard, and then he's going to add the Naturia Blessing to his hand. And then from here, he's going to go into the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, and this card is crazy. He gets to pop my entire field. So I say goodbye to all of my monsters, and then I take 3,000 damage. So from here, the duel starts picking up a little bit, Alright, so it's back to us. From here, I activate the bear. So the bear, I can send a monster from my hand to the graveyard, and then I can special summon a monster from my graveyard. So I send the Vera, and then I can bring back my Blackluster Soldier. And he's going to activate his Camellia. But I have my shuffle in the graveyard, so I'm going to shuffle back all of his Naturia cards to sort of prevent him from being able to do any special summoning. But he has Sunflower on the field, so Sunflower is a monster negate. So he's going to negate my Medora. But it's all good, all good. So pretty much what he did to me in the beginning of the game, I'm kind of trying to do it to him now. So we use Blessing to special summon Camellia so that we can normal summon our Sunflower. So now we have 2 monster negates with Sunflower and Camellia. And then if you don't know, very quickly, So Sunflower, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can tribute one Naturia monster and this card negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. But with Camellia, Camellia has an effect that if you would tribute any monster to activate a Naturia effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck instead. So this is how this becomes sort of like a 2 monster negate. Because the first time the Sunflower activates, you're just going to mill 2 cards off of Camellia, and then you can activate Sunflower's effect another time. So here I use Sunflower to negate the first Mole Cricket effect, and then I mill 2 cards, and because I mill 2 cards, I can still use Sunflower's second negate, so this time I have to tribute a Naturia monster alongside with my Sunflower. So I tribute the Sting Bug and the Sunflower. And then it's back to us. So this was a pretty good duel, a lot of back and forth, slow start. Then we draw into our Bamboo Shoot, and then Bamboo is while you control this face-up card that was tribute summoned by tributing a Naturia monster, your opponent cannot activate spell and trap cards. So this sort of just becomes a floodgate for spell and trap cards. But the only downside to the card is that you have to tribute summon it using a Naturia monster. So if you don't use a Naturia monster, then its effect does not apply. And then with that, our opponent concedes. Since he's playing Runick, there's nothing but a bunch of spell cards, so the Bamboo Shoot is going to prevent him from activating any spell cards. But yeah, that's Naturia Runick, which is supposed to be, you know, the best way of playing Naturia. If you would like to see that, I can make a video on that. As I do have a couple Runick cards, so I can definitely make a Naturia Runick card. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you would like to see a Naturia Runick video, I'll more than happy to make it. But let's move on to our next dude. Alright, my people, what's up, what's up? We got game number 2, and here we're going up against another pretty top tier deck. We're going up against Rikka's. And by the look of my sleeves, you know, I have a Rikka sleeve, which means that I also play Rikka. I play Rikka Sunavalon as well. And so I know how this deck works a little bit, and it's definitely a top tier deck. It's really up there. So anyways, the Rikka combo is quite long, so I'm also going to fast forward this a little bit, as he's just going to do a lot of special summoning to get his board all set up. But yeah, I have a while I don't play Rikkas. Like, I have a couple decks that are pretty top tier, but I just never use it just because, you know, I enjoy making sort of like vampire content, as you all may know. But yeah, man, if you guys would like to see me play like more meta decks or making more videos around meta decks, I can do that. I have a couple like good decks that are pretty top tier, like the Rikka Sunavalon. What else do I have? I have Labyrinth. I don't know if you guys would like to see Labyrinth. Any competitive deck out there, I can try to make a video on it. You guys can let me know what would you like to see, and I'll be more than happy to make a video on that. But of course, you know, I won't stop making vampire content, as that's our favorite videos out here up in Kiwami Games. But alright, so our opponent, he now has pretty much like a tribute. He can negate a spell, and he can also tribute with the field spell. So I hit him with the evenly matched to kind of get rid of as much resources as I can. And since he has a princess in the graveyard, and if you don't know about princess, but this card can negate a monster by shuffling itself from the graveyard into the deck. So that's why I hit it with the Call by the Grave. I said I don't want him to negate any of my monsters. And then he's going to hit me with the Maxi. But it's all good. So we special summon the bear. We normal summon Camellia. With Camellia, we are going to send Sacred Tree. And with Sacred Tree, we're going to add the Blessing. And this Camellia, Sacred Tree, and Blessing is kind of like your main starting combo that you're most likely going to be doing majority of the time when playing this deck. So he's going to activate his effect to tribute my Camellia. And then I'm going to activate my Shuffler to shuffle the pedal back into his deck. And the reason why I shuffle the pedal back into the deck is because this card can special summon itself every end turn. and then it can serve as an extender for the Rikka, so that's why I try to send it back to the graveyard. I mean, sorry, back to the deck. Alright, he's gonna try to hit Call by the Grave, my Mole Cricket, but we have 2 blessings, so I have to activate both of them to dodge it, unfortunately, but it's all good. Then he's gonna activate the pedal to search for some Rikka cards. So I take this moment to special summon my Camellia and my Sunflower. And what happened here is with Mole Cricket, so he can tribute himself, and then you can special summon 2 Naturia monsters from your deck. And you can special summon 2 monsters if your opponent has the highest attack monster. So in this case, his monster is 2800, mine was only 900. So I was able to special summon 2 monsters. If I have the highest attack monster, then I can only special summon 1 monster. So now I have 2 monster negates with Sunflower and Camellia. So he's going to try to shuffle my Sunflower away. So we activate Sunflower, we mill 2 cards with Camellia to negate. And then he's going to try to activate the Princess. But this was kind of a misplay for me. I forgot that I hit the Princess with the Call by the Grave on the last turn, so that means that the Princess was already negated. So I could have kept my 2 Naturia monsters on the field, so that was a little bit of a misplay for me. But anyways, we send Sacred Tree to add another Blessings. And another thing about this deck, if you don't know, the Sacred Tree and Naturia Blessing, they are not hard once per turn. So you can really activate 3 of them in 1 turn. Alright, so he's going to get his field spell again, and the Con, that field spell is crazy. If you ever go up against Rikka, you want to make sure that you deal with that field spell before anything. And then here he's going to try to extend, probably make another level 4 Strenna. But like I mentioned, since I hit the Princess with the Call by the Grave in the last turn, it is negated. So he cannot special summon, so then he cannot continue extending or making any plays. So yeah. Couple misplays, because I'll be honest, I know I'm a little late with uploading this video, but a lot of these games are about a week old. I just haven't had time to, you know, make a video, but a lot of these games were about a week ago when I just made the deck. So a couple misplays on my part as well, as I was still learning maneuvering and piloting the deck, but just wanted to put that out there. But let's move on. All right, what's up my people, welcome back. Here we are at game number 3, and we are going up against the almighty Tearlaments. Alright, so they're gonna start screaming as always. They're gonna normal summon Reinhardt. They're gonna activate Reinhardt to send a monster to the graveyard, so I'm gonna hit them with the Max Z, since chances are they're gonna start fusion summoning. So he sends the Havness, and the Havness is going to activate in the graveyard so they can fusion summon into the Kit Kalos. And then the Kit Kalos is going to activate to add a crime from the deck to the hand. And then I guess what he added was the crime, and he didn't continue since he's under Maxi. So we activate our Vernusylph Awakening Forest so that we can start extending. Then he's going to activate the YuGioH. I'm going to hit him with the Call by the Grave. And then he's going to activate the Crime to kind of prevent my Call by the Grave. And honestly, I was waiting for him to activate the Crime because I didn't want him to negate my Naturia Blessing. So this was sort of like a little bait on my part because I didn't want him to negate my Blessing. So now he's going to activate all his Ishizu cards to start milling and do all of that. I'm going to hit him with my own Ishizu card to shuffle back some cards into his deck, alongside with shuffling some cards back into my deck. But it's not enough. I have to hit him again with the other Medora, since he was able to shuffle even more cards into the graveyard. Mill more cards into the graveyard. Now I had Exchange of the Spirit in the graveyard, so this allows me to target 5 cards in the graveyard, so he's going to put that back into my deck. So now I can hit him with the Blessing to get back my Camellia. And then with that, he quits, because I guess he knows what's going to happen. I'm going to activate Sacred Tree, get the Blessing, activate Blessing, special summon the Mole Cricket, and from the Mole Cricket, I can start making like a Naturia Beast or anything that I want. So yeah, it's always good to see Tearlaments players surrender. Hell yeah. Alright, my people, welcome back. We got some Naturia Vernusylph action going on. This time we're going up against the good old Swordsoul. I'll be honest, man, I really don't run into a lot of Swordsoul nowadays, surprisingly. I remember back then when Swordsoul was just everywhere. Now they all switched to tier 0 Tearlaments, man. But anyways, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. As we all know what Swordsoul do, they just going to sequence summon, and from the Grandmaster they're just gonna make, you know, the barrel on the floor. He's gonna get his Protos on the field, and then Protos is gonna declare dark, but we are not playing dark, we are playing earth. So we activate our Vernusylph monster to discard a monster, and we are going to get hit with the barrel on the floor, which is what I wanted, because that was a bait. Since I have evenly matched, now I can activate evenly match. He's gonna keep Protos as I expected. We're gonna normal summon Cricket, then we're gonna quick effect send Cricket to the graveyard so that we can special summon Camellia and Sunflower. Then with Camelia's effect, we're going to send Tree to the graveyard so that we can add a blessing to our hand. Alright, then Protos is going to declare Earth. I'm going to hit him with the Sunflower. We're going to negate with the Sunflower. But Protos cannot be destroyed by card effect, so it's just negated. Then it's back to us. Now using our monsters, first we're going to activate blessings to get our Mole Cricket, and then using 2 Camellias and a Mole Cricket, we are going to make Crystron Quandrion Grand Draxin Traga. Whatever that was, man. Alright, he's going to hit me with the Ghost Bow, with the Ghost Ogre, but I'm going to negate with the Call by the Grave. And by the way, man, this card is crazy. So this card right here, you need 2 or more tuners. So that's why I had to use 2 Camellias and a Mole Cricket. And when this card is synchro summon, you can target monsters in your opponent's graveyard and that they control, up to the number of synchro materials used for this synchro summon. So since we use 3 monsters, that means we can banish 3 of our opponent's monsters. And then if this synchro summon card is destroyed by battle or card effect, we can target a banished monster and special summon it to our side of the field. So if he were to get destroyed, I can pretty much steal his Protos and add it to my field. So this card is pretty cracked, level 9, and you can make it with 2 Camellias and a Mole Cricket. Alright, and then we're going to get back our Mole Crickets and the Sacred Tree to get our blessing. And again, the Sacred Tree and the blessings, remember, they're not hard once per turn. So we're going to bring back our Sunflower so that way we can have 2 monster negates. And we're going to smack them up. And then we're going to pass turn. And then the Sacred Tree, if it doesn't get milled, this effect is still pretty handy. So you can tribute 1 Earth Insect monster, special summon 1 level 4 or lower Earth Plant monster. Or you can tribute 1 Earth Plant monster and then you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower Earth Insect monsters. So sometimes I can use these if I need like a stink bug or something like that to prevent my opponent from killing any of my cards. I can pretty much get a stink bug, or if I need the Sunflower, I can tribute a stink bug for the flower. So that's one way to use the Sacred Tree on the field. But most of the times you really want to send it to the graveyard so that you can activate its search effect. But yeah, that was Swordsoul, man. This deck is pretty fun and it's pretty crazy, man. I think I was on like a 7 or 8 win streak with this deck. It's insane. I really like it. Alright, my people. We are here in game number 4. And this is a spicy one. This is against MathMech. And man, this MathMech deck it goes in, bro. It goes in. The MathMech is still pretty strong. So we make an Ossa because I don't have the best hand, to be honest. So I just make an Ossa so that if it ever gets destroyed, I can add an Earth Monster from my deck to my hand. He's going to activate Cosmic Cyclone to get rid of my Exchange of the Spirit, which honestly was kind of like a bait as well. You know, I didn't want to have evenly match and have evenly match being banished. So anyways, we're going to hit him with the Maxis, and he's going to start special summoning. And the Mad Lad, he's going to take the maxi challenge, so he's gonna go and start comboing off. He's gonna get his super factorial. Then from here, he's gonna go into his Alan Burton. And then with the Alan Burton or Alan Burtian, how do you pronounce that one? Alan Burton, Alan Burtian. Anyway, I'm gonna hit him with the Ash Blossom to negate that. We don't want him to continue extending, but it's MathMech, you know, so they still have a whole bunch of ways to continue extending. He's gonna add the, well, he's gonna activate his equation, and he's gonna get the Splash Mage. The Splash Mage is gonna allow him to bring back a monster from the graveyard into the field, but I activate my shuffler to shuffle back all of his cards into the deck to prevent any more extending, but he's got the subtraction, so he's able to continue extending. So he's gonna go into IP Masquerena here, and then using IP Masquerena and the Splash Mage, he's gonna make an Ashes Cold Talker. And now this Ashes Cold Talker is under the IP Masquerena, so it cannot be targeted for card effects. It cannot be destroyed by card effects. So it's back to us. Since he took the maxi challenge, we have quite a lot to play around with. So first of all, I'm gonna hit him with the Call by the Grave to sort of get him to activate that shuffler, as I do not want him to interrupt me when I start activating my cards. So that's fine by me. Alright, then from here we're going to activate our Vernusylph to send our shuffler to the graveyard so that we can special summon also. Activate our other Vernusylph monster so that we can add the bear and special summon the Medora. Then we're going to normal summon Cricket, activate Cricket effect so that we can special summon Camellia and Sunflower. Camellia is going to send the Sacred Tree, and the Sacred Tree is going to get us our Naturia Blessing. And then using these three monsters, we're going to make Baroni de Fleur. Then we're going to activate Blessing, get back Camellia. And then we're going to activate Blessing again. So remember, this card is not once per turn. And then using all of these monsters, we're going to make an Underworld Goddess to kind of get rid of his Ashes Cold Talker. And because Ashes Cold Talker was made with IP Masquerena, I was not able to destroy it with Baron de Fleur. But yeah, man, shout outs to the MathMechs, man. The MathMech, that's a crazy deck. It's still pretty good deck to run. But let's keep it moving. So welcome to the deck portion of the video. Let's go over it real quick. We have Naturia Vane. So this is a level 1 tuner. When your opponent activates a spell or trap card, you contribute one Naturia monster and this card negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And that's just in case if we cannot get our Naturia Beast or our Naturia Barkion on the field. This can kind of, you know, stall a little bit. Also, it's a level 1 tuner, so we can make a lot of our level 9s or level 8 synchrons with it. Next, we have our Naturia Mole Cricket. This is one of your starters. You contribute this card, special summon one Naturia monster from your deck, or you can special summon 2 Naturia monsters if your opponent controls a monster with the highest attack on the field. And if your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, or you special summon a Naturia monster from the extra deck, while this card is in the graveyard, you can special summon this card. So this is also can serve as an extender during your opponent's turn. We have Naturia Sunflower. This is pretty much a monster negate. And when this card and Camellia is on the field, then this kind of becomes a 2 monster negate. So you can negate 2 monsters with this. Then we got the Maxi, since it's an Earth monster, and you know it's always good to draw cards. Then we have our Stink Bug. When a Naturia monster is targeted for an attack, you can send this card from the field to the graveyard, negate that attack, then you can end the battle phase. Then we have our Hand Traps, 2 Ash Blossoms. Then we have 3 Vernusylph of the Misting Seedlings. So this card right here, it can discard itself and one other monster, and then you can add a fairy monster from your deck to your hand. So I'm either going to add the Ishizu cards, or I'm either going to add the Vernusylph Flourishing Hills with it. And this card is also going to discard itself and another monster, and then you can add a card from your deck to your hand. And with this one, I usually try to add the Vera. And then with this one, I try to add the bear. And the bear is going to, again, similar to the other ones, they'll have the same effect where you have to discard this card and one other monster. And then this one, you can send a card from your deck to the graveyard, and then you can special summon a monster from your graveyard. And with this one, I usually try to special summon the Vera. So that's just sort of how this little Vernusylph engine works. They all search one another, and they all can special summon one another, besides the Vera. So the Vera, once per turn, when a monster effect is activated by your opponent, if you control 5 or more Earth monsters, you can negate that effect. And if you do destroy that card, you can only use it once per turn. And then also you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of it, and if you do, it becomes a Earth monster. So yep, this card is good. It can be a negate, and it can also steal monsters from our opponent's side of the field. Also, the Vernusylph, they all have like extra effects. Like, you know, this one, where is that? I think this one right here allows you to sort of, where is it? Yeah, this one right here. You can target a Vernusylph monster and its attack becomes doubled. But honestly, the secondary effects, I rarely use it, and you're rarely going to use it. You're mainly going to use them to search and to extend. That's pretty much the purpose of the Vernusylph engine. Then we have our shufflers. You already know this is just to counter Tearlaments or to put back any cards that we need from our graveyard into our deck. So if I happen to mill all 3 sacred trees, and if I end up running out of blessings, then I can use the shufflers to put them back into my deck again. Then we have our Naturia Camellia, which is also another starter and extender. If this card is normal special summon, you can send 1 Naturia card from your deck to the graveyard. So usually with this effect, you're going to send the Sacred Tree. And then when the Sacred Tree is sent to the graveyard, you can add a Naturia card from your deck to your hand. So with the Sacred Tree, you're most likely always going to add the Blessing. But if you already have the Blessing in your hand, then you can pretty much add the Mole Cricket to your hand. That's usually the ones that you're going to search most of the time. And then also, if you would tribute a monster to activate a monster effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard instead. And if your opponent normal or special summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 Naturia monster from your graveyard. So it's also an extender. So it's really great cards. Like the Camellia and the Mole Cricket were definitely the 2 cards that the Naturia deck was missing, and I'm happy to have it. So we have our Harpy's Feather Duster. I know we're running, you know, the Spell Canceller and the Trap Canceller, but just in case, you know, if we go second, I want to have some sort of back row removal. Then Foolish Burial Goods. This is to send a spell or trap to the graveyard. So most of the time we are going to either send the Sacred Tree, or we are going to send the Exchange of the Spirit. And then this right here, it's sort of like a, Book of Eclipse, to change all your monster's opponents to face down defense position. And I was running the Bamboo Shoot, so it was a toss-up between the Bamboo Shoot and this card. I felt sometimes I might need some board breakers, so that's why I kind of took out the Bamboo Shoot and I added this to kind of have some sort of more of a board breaker. Then we have to Call by the Grave to kind of prevent any hand traps, like if I get Max Seed or something. And then we have our Naturia Blessing, which is 3 effects, and you're most likely going to use the first one the most. You can special summon a Naturia monster from your hand or graveyard. Or the second one is immediately after this effect resolves, you can synchro summon 1 synchro monster using monsters you control as material. And the third one is you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck. And then this one is mainly for Naturia Exterior. This is like one of the proper ways of getting this card out. I know many people tend to use the Cyber theme, but yeah. Then we have the Exchange of the Spirit. This is to counter Tearlaments so that we can shuffle more than 3 cards. And then if we have the Gravekeeper's Trap on our field, then our opponent cannot activate any effects in the graveyard. So this can kind of shut down Tearlaments. And then we have Evenly Matched as one of our board breakers. 1 Imperm just in case, you know, if we go second and we need to negate. Alright, then we have our Naturia Beast. When a spell card is activated, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. And then this is not hard once per turn or like once per chain or anything. You can chain. They activate a spell, you hit them with the beast. Activate another spell, you hit them again with the beast. Same thing with the Barkion, but this one is just for the trap cards. Just that this one though, you have to banish 2 cards from the graveyard. And we have our Cyframe Omega Lord. This is kind of to put cards back into our graveyard if they get banished. And then we have a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. This is kind of like a boss monster. If we're having trouble attacking over a monster that our opponent may have, we can pretty much make this to negate and pretty much boost up this card. Then we have Draco. This is also just to kind of help with banishing monsters that activate. Then as you saw against the Swordsoul, this is to banish monsters, and then if it gets destroyed, we can target one of those banished monsters and special summon it to our field. So we can steal like a Protos or something, anything that we banish that will Kaulos, you can then pretty send it to your side of the field. Then we have the Runick Naturia. We have a Chang Ying. We have an Abyss Dweller. We have a Baguska. We have an Underworld Goddess to kind of break boards as well. Blackluster Soldier. This card, if it's made with a level 7 or higher monster, then your opponent cannot target it with card effects. And then if this card destroys an opponent's monsters by battle, you can activate one of these effects. So the first one, it gains 1500 attack. The other one, it can banish a card on the field. And the other one is that it can make a second attack during the battle phase of your next turn. So pretty cracked product. Blackluster Soldier, it's one of my favorite all-time Yugi cards. Then we have Unicorn to bounce stuff, and also to search if it gets popped, and also to steal any earth monsters that our opponent may have. And then the Zeus to kind of help wipe out any fields that we might have any trouble with. But yep, that's the deck list. Thank you for checking out today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, comment what you guys think about the deck. If you would like to see me play this with Runick, I can try to make a Runick deck. But other than that, yep, thank you all so much. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.